our obedience to Christ, in that we learn many things about Christ and about ourselves, but also in our disobedience and in our frailty, we learn much about ourselves and even much more about Christ. It's always a terrible thing to be a conference speaker, because Christians that possibly have not quite grown in maturity as they should think too much of men. The conference speakers sin and are needy, desperately in need of grace, always. No matter how mature you become, how wise you stand in the Word, how powerful in the Spirit, it is always a result of extra measures of God's grace. There never has been and there never will be such a thing as a great man of God. There are only weak and pitiful men of a great and merciful God. In looking in the mirror, if I had to define Christianity, I would say a desperate person clinging desperately to Christ for the sake of Christ. And why do I say for the sake of Christ? Regardless of our weakness and our sin and our constant need of grace, if we have been regenerated by the Spirit of God, Christ is beautiful to us. He is that pearl of great price. I do not find much joy in simple morality or in trying to rise above my culture. I find joy in the face of Christ. Young people, many of you are being taught and trained as I wished I had been taught and trained, but there is also a danger in that. Beware that you don't determine your goodness by simply judging yourselves in light of a fallen culture, but that the standard for heaven is Jesus Christ and His righteousness. I have heard many Reformed theologians say, if a man wants to be judged by his own goodness, then let him stand in the scale, and then let the law be put on the other side of the balance, and see how well he does. I would agree with that statement, but I would say something far more radical than that. Let a man step up to one side of the scale, and then let Jesus step on the other side of the balance. All our righteousness is like filthy rags, and that is why Christ had to die. I hope you are not choosing some sort of self-improvement. I hope that you're not seeking to be moral for the sake of morality, because that is idolatry. I hope you're not wanting Christianity in order to have a good marriage. I hope you're not coming to Christ in order to have a clean family. I hope that everything you do for Him. For Him. Because all else is idolatry. In moral philosophy, we understand that for a creature to be reasonable, it must have a reason for what it does. A greatest good. If you find a man standing out in the rain and you ask him why he is there and he can give you no answer, you have to conclude that he is an unreasonable creature. We must have a reason for all that we do. And if we are the pinnacle of God's creation, it is just assumed that we will choose for ourselves the highest reason for what we do. And there is no higher reason than the person of Jesus Christ. There is no greater good. If the Father is any judge of why we should be doing all that we are doing, then learn from the Father. For He has done everything He has done for His Son. For His Son. For His Son. Through His Son. I'm going to talk today about Jesus Christ. And especially my burden is always to you, you youngsters. Your minds can be caught away to many detours that lead to dungeons and death. And all your homeschooling, get Christ. Parents, in all your teaching, give Christ. I have found in all these years, though there has been some moral improvement in my person, when I look in the mirror, that without Christ I am utterly desperate and without hope. So if I had all the combined morality in the world, the virtue of every man gathered up in a bucket and placed and given to me, I would still be like filthy rags before God. I need Christ. I need Christ. 2 Corinthians chapter 5, let's begin in verse 20. Therefore we are ambassadors of Christ, as though God were making an appeal through us. We beg you, on behalf of Christ, be reconciled to God. We are ambassadors. When an ambassador is sent out from a certain country to another, his adornment, his clothing, is extremely important. No country, no king wants to send forth a representative in tattered rags. Even our own capital was built in a certain way so as to communicate certain things about our country. We are to have some shine on our face. There should be something beautiful about us. Something kingdom-looking about us. Yes, there should be morality. Yes, there should be a biblical morality. Yes, we should be moral people. We should seek to conform to every word that God has spoken. But we need even a greater beauty. Something of the glory of Christ reflected from our faces. But the only place you can get that glory is from Christ Himself. Seated before Him, beholding Him, worshiping Him, meditating upon Him, thinking about Him. Christ and the gospel is not Christianity 101, and from there you go on to deeper things. There is nothing greater than Christ, and there is nothing greater than His gospel.